Wait, so you're saying there's many timelines happening at once?
Yes.
Why are we in this one?
Well, one of his students called it the multiple worlds theory,
Right.
where there are many timelines happening at once, and so that's the natural question. How come you're not experiencing multiple versions of the chair that you're sitting in? Why do we occupy this macro mechanical reality where a cat is a cat, it can only be one thing or it can only be another? Some physicists today theorize that we experience a process that they refer to as information leakage. That when you measure something in an exquisitely fine and probing way, such as when you place an object under a microscope, you're receiving all kinds of information. You're learning about cellular structure, you're learning about atoms and molecules and particles. You're seeing what's really going on. When you pan back, the data that comes through gets coarser and blurrier and less complete, which they call information leakage. William James spoke about this in his Gifford lectures in 1902. And what some physicists theorize is these surreal things that go on within the quantum physics lab are in fact reality. That's the nature of what we live in every day, but we don't see it because our sensory abilities are so coarsened and so reduced over the exquisite measurements that are possible in the quantum physics lab that we don't actually see what's really going on.
Unless you're a psychic or an
Unless you're a psychic. The idea that the theory of information leakage suggests that if we're using a very fine instrument to measure something, like a microscope or maybe like a very sensitive microphone,
Right.
we're picking up all kinds of things and we're discovering more and more about what's really going on. But if we're not using a microscope and then we're using a magnifying glass, we learn a little less. Then if we're using the naked eye, we learn a little less. Then if we're in a darkened room, we learn a little less. They're suggesting that we are like figures in a darkened room who are not gleaning all the information that's really there. So the mechanical world that we're absolutely persuaded that we live in is actually a world of very, very limited data, and it may be that the subatomic measurements that have been recorded in the quantum physics lab tell us more of what's really going on.